Welcome back to the Journeyman Podcast, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff so you don't miss out on all our deep dives into stories and the lessons that we can learn from them. This time, for episode 8, we're diving into the story of Wes Watson. It's a wild story.
It is.
Wes Watson, is this ex-con turned social media influencer.
Right.
And his story's really kind of taken a hard left turn from inspiration to almost cautionary tale.
Yeah, it really is.
So before we go any further, I do want to give some much-deserved homage to John Bravo for his incredible work in uncovering this story.
Oh, for sure.
His dedication to the truth.
Absolutely.
Really something else. So,
yeah.
For those of you who haven't been following along, Wes Watson initially gained his fame by sharing his story of redemption.
Right.
After he spent, 7 years in prison.
Yeah.
And he really presented himself as this motivational figure, encouraging people to turn their lives around.
Yeah.
But then things took a dark turn.
It seems like there was a real shift in his online presence.
Right.
Like he went from offering words of encouragement and advice to, pretty much just issuing public challenges and threats.
Yeah.
Mainly on Instagram.
Primarily on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's almost like, he was a completely different person.
Yeah.
It's like he got addicted to this attention, addicted to the trauma, and it just kind of spiraled from there.
It did.
And this new aggressive persona of his, ultimately led to a really serious incident at a Miami gym called Elevation Fitness.
Yeah, this is where things get really concerning. He was publicly challenging people to confront him at the gym, even going so far as to call out this guy. He called him the 7-foot monster.
Right. And that 7-foot monster unfortunately did show up. A man named Ted ended up on the receiving end of a really brutal attack.
It was.
What we've seen from the footage, it's disturbing.
It's really important to emphasize the severity of this attack.
It is.
According to reports and eyewitness accounts, this guy 10 was pushed down, struck with a weighted belt.
Oh, wow.
And then repeatedly kicked and punched while he was already on the ground.
Yeah.
He sustained some very serious injuries, including facial fractures.
Oh, my gosh.
Concussion.
Wow.
And just severe bruising all over.
That's awful. And it's just, it's hard to even watch some of the footage. The level of aggression is palpable.
Right.
It's clear this wasn't, just some gym scuffle between two guys.
Yeah.
This was a targeted, vicious assault.
And it gets worse because this wasn't just a one-on-one fight, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some of Watson's associates, and some are even calling them his entourage, they jumped in and participated in the assault.
Oh, wow.
So they basically ganged up on this guy.
Jeez. So it wasn't even a fair fight at that point?
No, not at all.
And then, to make things even worse, Watson's claiming self-defense.
Come on. This raises serious questions about his version of events. How can someone who instigated the confrontation and used such excessive force, especially when a guy was already down, claim self-defense? It just doesn't add up.
Right. You would think that the footage would just, speak for itself.
You would think.
But there are claims that there's missing footage.
There is.
So that further complicates everything.
Absolutely, because the missing footage is a major point of contention here. It could potentially reveal a more complete picture of what really went down and, shed light on whether or not his self-defense claim holds any water at all.
And if we look at this incident, kind of in the context of his overall behavior,
right.
This incident at the gym, it just kind of seems to fit a pattern.
Absolutely, because just 2 weeks after this whole gym fight, there was another incident, this time at a pharmacy.
Okay.
And what's really revealing about this pharmacy incident is that a fan just approached him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to ask him about his success.
Okay.
And Watson, he just got really dismissive and rude, and then ultimately just started threatening the guy.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
And the craziest thing is that this entire pharmacy confrontation was caught on camera without him even knowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it kind of just further exposes this tendency he has towards aggression, even in, harmless situations.
Totally.
It's almost like this carefully constructed online persona.
Right.
The one that initially drew people to him, it just completely crumbled in these real-life interactions.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what happens when someone gets so consumed by their online image that they lose sight of who they actually are.
Right.
And the consequences, they're starting to catch up to him.
Absolutely, yeah. The fallout from these incidents has been huge.
It has. He's been banned from the gym.
Oh, wow.
Elevation Fitness itself is facing a lot of backlash, negative reviews.
Oh, really?
And there's this widespread online movement criticizing, his actions and his character.
Yeah.
It seems like his whole world, everything he built is just crumbling around him.
Not to mention the legal stuff, right?
Oh, right.
The potential legal ramifications. I mean, he's now facing felony assault charges.
He is.
And the judge even issued instructions about a possible stay-away order.
It's serious stuff.
It is. It just further emphasizes the gravity of the situation and, how dangerous this guy may actually be.
It really does. It's crazy how quickly things can change in this age of social media.
Right. It's wild.
Watson went from, being the symbol of personal transformation to a cautionary tale. It seems like overnight.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about how fleeting online fame can be, right? Like, how important is it to really have a solid foundation of values to guide your actions, especially when you have so many eyes on you,
Yeah, for sure.
especially with such a large platform.
Absolutely.
All those people watching your every move.
It seems like in his case, the fame and attention went to his head.
Yeah.
He started to believe his own hype, and it led to his downfall.
And speaking of downfall, I mean, we have to address the legal repercussions that he's facing, right?
Yeah,
These charges against him,
right.
they were upgraded from misdemeanor to felony assault,
They were.
which is a huge escalation.
It is.
It just shows how serious this all is.
That's a really crucial point because a lot of people, they don't fully grasp the distinction between a misdemeanor and a felony.
Right.
A misdemeanor is generally considered, a less serious offense,
Right.
often punishable by, fines or
Right.
shorter jail terms.
Yeah.
But a felony charge, that carries a lot more weight.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes with potential penalties, including, lengthy prison sentences
Wow.
and a permanent mark on your record.
That's serious stuff.
Yeah, so it's a stark reminder that actions have consequences,
Right.
both online and offline.
That's true.
And in Watson's case, it seems like his actions might land him in some really hot water.
Yeah, it really could.
It's also worth pointing out that the judge in this case even mentioned the possibility of a stay-away order.
Wow.
So that further highlights the seriousness of the situation.
Yes.
I mean, this means that Watson could be legally prohibited from coming within a certain distance of, Ted.
Of the victim.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's a big step, and it really underscores the severity of this whole situation.
Yeah, it does.
And the potential danger that he might pose.
Right, right.
This whole thing raises a lot of questions about the role of social media in influencing behavior
It really does.
and shaping public perception. I mean, we live in a world where people carefully craft these online personas,
yeah,
presenting this idealized version of themselves that might not even be real.
it's true. That's like we're all constantly performing for some invisible audience,
Right.
trying to project this image of success and happiness, even if that's not the whole story.
Totally.
And, in some cases, this pressure to keep up a certain image could be really
You
dangerous.
can't.
And people end up making choices that are harmful to themselves and others.
Absolutely. Watson's story is a stark reminder about the potential dangers of this whole online culture of curated personas
Right.
and the importance of just being authentic and having integrity.
Yeah, you got to be real.
Yeah, it's essential to remember that, actions speak louder than words.
For sure.
And true character, it shines through no matter how carefully you craft your online presence.
It really does. You can't hide who you are forever.
Nope.
And while we're talking about consequences, we can't overlook the impact that all of this has had on Ted, the victim.
Right.
I mean, he suffered real injuries, physical injuries, emotional trauma, not to mention, his safety was violated.
It was. That's a really crucial point because it's easy to get wrapped up in, the drama and spectacle of this whole story.
Right.
But we have to remember that real people are affected by what happens.
Yeah, it's a real person's life.
He was just at the gym, minding his own business.
Right.
And he was attacked.
It's off.
Yeah, so it's a reminder that violence has lasting consequences for everyone involved, the victim and the perpetrator.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't condone or minimize the severity of Watson's actions
No,
and the pain that he's caused.
absolutely not.
And while the legal system handles the criminal side of this,
Right.
it's important for us as a society to really reflect on the deeper implications of this whole story.
I agree.
Like, what can we learn from Watson's downfall? How can we, navigate this digital age in a way that promotes responsibility, accountability, and empathy?
Yeah, those are really good questions. The questions we should all be asking ourselves.
Definitely.
It's not about, condemning Watson.
No.
It's about using this story to have a real conversation and hopefully create some positive change.
Absolutely.
We need to encourage critical thinking,
Right.
and media literacy.
Yeah.
And just a healthy skepticism toward all these online personas that we see.
You can't just believe everything you see and hear online.
Exactly.
You've got to question motives, consider different perspectives, and hold people accountable for their actions, both online and offline.
Right. It's about recognizing that the internet is a really powerful tool.
It is.
It can be used for good or for evil.
Right.
It's up to us to decide how we're going to use that power.
And what kind of digital world we want to create.
Exactly. It's almost like he, turned into this caricature of himself.
Yeah.
Like ramping up the aggression and bravado
Right.
to a point where it was just too much.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like he was stuck in this cycle, constantly needing to be more outrageous
Yeah.
just to keep people's attention.
Right, right.
And that can be really dangerous.
It can, especially when, real life consequences start to hit.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this whole thing, I don't know, kind of sad.
It is.
Because he really did have this genuine opportunity,
He did.
to make a positive impact. He
Yeah.
had the platform,
Right.
a compelling story,
Ex-
and people were really listening.
Yeah, you were.
But it's like somewhere along the way,
Right.
I don't know, maybe the fame, maybe greed, I don't know, something got to him.
It's like that classic story, the idea that success, especially when it comes quick, can corrupt.
Yeah,
It shows how important it is to have, a strong moral compass,
Yeah.
values that guide you no matter what's going on around you.
absolutely. And speaking of what's going on around you, we can't ignore the role of social media in all of this.
Oh, for sure.
Right. It's like this giant echo chamber
Yeah.
where extreme behavior just gets, attention and validation.
That's one of the big problems, right?
Yeah.
These platforms often reward outrageous behavior.
Exactly.
Sensational content.
Yeah.
And it creates this kind of distorted reality where people feel like they have to constantly perform,
Yeah.
be bigger, louder, more controversial just to, stand out.
I feel like this competition to be the most shocking,
It is.
the most extreme,
Yeah,
but where does that lead?
exactly.
What kind of message does that send?
Especially to younger people who are, still figuring things out.
Who are impressionable.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in Watson's case,
Yeah.
it seems like it led him to be totally disconnected from reality.
It's like he blurred the lines between what he was doing online and real life.
Totally.
He built this persona based on aggression and intimidation.
Right.
And it just spilled over
Yeah.
into his actual life.
With, really bad results.
Yeah, it really did.
And this whole thing, I mean, it really raises some questions about responsibility.
It does.
The responsibility that comes with having all these followers online.
Absolutely, because when you have that kind of platform,
Yeah.
people are watching you,
Yeah.
listening to you,
Right?
and they're influenced by what you do and say.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
No, it shouldn't. And it's a good reminder that we all have a role to play in making the internet a better place.
For sure.
Right. Like we can support creators who, promote good things.
Yeah.
Like positivity.
Positivity, authenticity, respect, all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can, call out those who spread negativity
Right.
or violence, hate, all that.
And be mindful of our own behavior online, too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Make sure that what we're doing matches up with our values.
Right. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive, right?
We have.
We've seen the rise and fall of Wes Watson.
Right.
We've looked at the legal stuff. And
Yeah.
we've talked about what all this means for social media and, online culture.
We have.
But I think the most important thing is that we've had a chance to, learn from this
Yeah.
and think about what it all means for us,
Absolutely.
both individually and as, a society.
It's been a really interesting conversation.
It has.
Hopefully our listeners got something out of it.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's a complicated topic, right?
It is.
There are no easy answers.
Right.
But it's a conversation we need to have.
We do. And, hopefully our listeners will keep talking about this,
Yeah.
share their thoughts, their perspectives,
Right.
what they took away from all of this, from Wes Watson's story.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, we can all learn from this and create a better, more responsible online world.
A more compassionate digital world.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
So that's it for episode 8 of the Journeyman podcast.
Wow, that went by fast.
It did. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into all the fascinating stories out there. And until next time, keep your minds curious, your hearts open, and remember, the journey is just as important as the destination.